Hi, everybody. After this very, very nice talk, I'm allowed to welcome you to the next session, which is the invited session 3 on reproducible coding practice. So in this session, we're going to see how to apply these tools somehow. And if you walk around the conference and if you speak about people, you can feel that reproducible data science, reproducible analysis means something different a little bit for everybody of us. For some people, it means to reproduce like the initial data. For some people, it means reproducing some prepared data. And for other people, it may mean to reproduce the whole analysis workflow of the analysis. I think there are very good reasons for reproducible analysis code, and maybe I do not need to convince you, but I've written 3 different reasons. So first, there's the reliability of the code. If the code is reproducible, it often means that it can run over and over again and like do the same things, and it's very nice, obviously, especially in scientific research where we need to reproduce all the same results over and over again. Then the second reason is maintenance, right? If we write reproducible code, this code tends to be pretty good. So it's documented well and it's written in a well fashion. So it's easier to maintain. And also there's a point that further development and collaboration on reproducible code is very easy, because if I have a new student and I just tell this new student how to run the whole pipeline of my program, of my analysis, then this student will have a very low barrier to enter the analysis and enter my level of research. So as we've seen in the talk before, it's easier than ever to make reproducible analysis possible, because now we have all these nice tools, right? We have the GitHub, we have the CI/CD pipelines and so on. But there are still challenges, and about some of these challenges we're going to speak in this session. So I'm greatly looking forward to it, and I'm greatly looking forward to announce the first speaker, which is Yihui. And he is currently an independent software engineering contractor on R, the programming language, and he's involved in the package development and reproducible reporting. He's the main author of Knitr, which is the backend of R Markdown and Quarto, and he has authored and co-authored more than 20 R packages and 5 books. And from 2013 to 2023, he worked on POSIT PBC, which is formerly known as R Studio. So with these words, please take it away, and we welcome the speaker.
Thank you. Is the mic working? Hello. Okay, it's working now. First of all, an alert. Yesterday, I flew from Omaha, Nebraska to San Francisco, and my flights were delayed for a total of about 16 hours. So I spent a night at the airport and I slept for only 2 hours. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about in the presentation next, don't worry, because I have no idea either. All right. So for those who are not familiar with me, I'm an R package developer. And my main responsibility is to make the R world really miserable, because I have written a series of packages named after down, like including Markdown, R Markdown, book down, blog down, page down, a lot of down. So I want to make everything down in the R world. Well, today I want to share some reflections on my 12 years of developing R Markdown. But I want to emphasize, I'm talking about these reflections from the developer's perspective, not from the user's perspective. Actually, I have a quick test to check if you are a developer or a user. When I talk about strings, what comes to your mind? If it's a collection of characters, then you are a developer. If it's something like a rope, then you are a user. But I use both strings. This is my daughter, Harper, born 2 weeks ago. She is 2 weeks and about 6 hours old now. So I use strings probably in an unexpected way. I tie the strings to her milk bottle to feed her while I could work on my slides on Wednesday. Actually, how many people actually use R Markdown here? Okay, then I don't need any introduction to R Markdown. So basically, the idea is from literate programming, and the idea is quite simple. Basically, you combine some documentation language with some computing languages. So originally, in about 2007, I came across a tool in R named SWIF, and I was fascinated by that tool. SWIF is basically the combination of the documentation language LaTeX and the computing language R. But after using it for about 4 years, I found it too limited. There are some features that I desperately wanted but didn't exist in SWIF. And I used SWIF for writing most of my homework assignments when I was a graduate student. Since I found it was too limited, I started developing the R package named Knitter in 2011, which became a backend of R Markdown. So basically, later I realized a problem. So Knitter actually started with LaTeX as well. But later I realized that LaTeX as the documentation language is too difficult for beginners, and R Markdown is much simpler. So basically, that's how R Markdown was born. So R Markdown basically is the combination of the documentation language Markdown with some other computing languages, including but not limited to R. Oh, by the way, the original author of SWIF unfortunately died last month, so rest in peace, Fritz. So we chose R Markdown for simplicity. Did it work? My answer is it appears so. So if we look at the number of files on GitHub, if we search for RNW files, RNW stands for R no web, or you can treat it as the SWIF files, which is the combination of R and LaTeX. There are about 20,000 files on GitHub. If you search for R Markdown, there are about 0.8 million files on GitHub. If you search Jupyter Notebooks, the IPy notebook files, there are about 5.3 million. So given that Python is orders of magnitude more popular than R, and Jupyter is orders of magnitude more popular than R Markdown, I would consider that R Markdown is some kind of success. And another piece of evidence that Markdown's simplicity worked for users is that I wrote the bookdown package in 2016. And today, if you go to bookdown.org, you can find that there are about 1,600 books published there. So looking back over the 12 years, starting from 2012, so if we compare the very original version of R Markdown to the R Markdown ecosystem today, we will find some substantial differences. Basically, in short, R Markdown 12 years ago was much simpler than the R Markdown today. So, for example, originally we invented R Markdown basically mainly for HTML output. And today you can use R Markdown to do a lot of things. You can produce HTML pages, you can do LaTeX, you can produce PDF, you can do Word, PowerPoint, ebooks, etc. And you can build all kinds of applications, not limited to reports today. You can write slides, articles, books, websites, dashboards, and so on. And also originally, the R Markdown was based on a tiny C library named Sundown, and today it's based on Pandoc, which is much bigger than the original C library. And also in terms of R package dependencies, originally R Markdown has no dependencies, and today it has 25. And if you look at the file size, the package size, originally it was about 2 megabytes, and today it's about 83 megabytes, not including Pandoc. If you count Pandoc, it'll be about 150 megabytes. And if you count RStudio IDE, it will be like 1.5 gigabytes. And also this comparison does not include R Markdown extension packages such as Bookdown or Blogdown, which are even heavier. So I was wondering, what makes reproducibility hard? And one thing is that I think reproducibility is very hard without stability of software. For example, we don't want things that worked yesterday suddenly stop working today. So as a software developer, I've gradually become tired of adding features endlessly to a system or manage dependencies. It just feels like playing an infinite game. I don't see an end. It's so hard to call something feature complete. I'm done. These are all the features that I want to develop. Like users will file features, you will come up with some new ideas. And so software basically, it changes forever. And so this year, some of you know that I left RStudio. So because I have been a little bit confused or perplexed, because originally we chose Markdown for its simplicity, right? But after 12 years, we are making Markdown do everything. Is it still simple? And sometimes if we look at some specific features in our Markdown, for example, the subfigures, how to produce subfigures. And we want subfigures to work for HTML, for LaTeX, for Word, and so on. So sometimes I feel, so originally Markdown was so simple, and today Markdown feels like XML. It's so complicated. And also I feel that the more features we add, the more challenging it is to maintain the software. And sometimes we, as developers, we may change our mind or regret, and we have to deprecate certain features in the future, which means things will break. And we definitely all hate breakage. I'm sorry to quote this example, which there are certainly some Python users here. I'm not talking specifically about Python, but there's a project named Active Papers. So basically, the author abandoned that project because, like he said, Python is not a suitable platform to build on for reproducible research. Don't kill me, Python users. And this is what he said. But this problem exists in every language, right? And he also said something like more aggressively, like the best advice I can give is not to use Python to do like reproducible research. Again, this is not limited to Python. This applies to all computing languages. And also in terms of dependencies, I have certainly had a lot of pain with both external dependencies like the system packages, Pandoc, Bootstrap, jQuery, Hugo, and also R package dependencies. And I know some people will say, oh, dependency, the problem of dependency hell, that's a simple problem to solve. We can use some like virtual environments or even Docker to manage all these dependencies. But there's another problem. If your results are reproducible only in a highly specific environment, can we really call them reproducible? Are they generalizable? Are they really useful? We have to consider that the results have to be generalized in the future, right? We don't want the results to be reproducible only in that specific environment. So, this also reminds me of a very underappreciated feature of CRAN, which is the repository for R packages. This is probably also a unique feature of CRAN. And if you don't develop R packages, you probably don't realize that. Basically, when you submit a new version or you update your R packages on CRAN, you can't just submit it and let it go. You can't do that. You are required to check the reverse dependencies of your package. the reverse dependencies means the packages that depend on your package. So if you release a new version, you have to check all the packages that depend on your package to make sure you don't break them. If you break any of them, normally you are not allowed to release that new version. I think this is a really great feature for CRAN. This is hugely beneficial to our users, but it's also a huge pain to me, like to maintain some popular R packages like knitr and R Markdown, which have more than 10,000 reverse dependencies. Like every time I release a new version of knitr or R Markdown CRAN, I have to spend a lot of time to carefully check to make sure that I don't break other packages. And so eventually I'm coming to minimalism. So this is my new journey after I left our studio. So I have had some ideas that I want to implement. And so for the past 2 months, I quit all of my other jobs and I was unpaid. I was developing this new package called Lightdown, hopefully, which is my last down package. And the goal of this package is that I want to extract the absolute minimum of a huge collection of down packages like knitr, R Markdown, bookdown, blockdown, pagedown, sharingan, tufty, but minus some dependencies, minus pandoc, minus Hugo, minus gitbook, minus bootstrap or jQuery. So basically, this is the only thing you need to remember from this talk. And in the past 2 months, I was basically re-implementing my 12 years of work with fewer features and fewer dependencies. And I think I'm determined to say no to new features unless they are absolutely necessary. If you desire rich features, I would say just use R Markdown, use Quarto. Lightdown is probably not for you. And I'm really hoping to declare feature complete in just a few months. I really want to do fewer things. I'm no longer interested in developing a really, really powerful system like R Markdown or Quarto. So the slogan is Lightdown. Markdown, Markdown originally, it was invented for HTML, right? Then later we make R Markdown do everything. Then I just want to make Markdown HTML again. And I want to do HTML and do it really well. And thank you. The slides will be, thank you. Slides will be posted on my personal website without the baby picture because I didn't get her permission.
So thank you for bringing us all a little bit down, but only a little bit. It's very, very nice talk. I'm sure there are interesting questions.
I think you touched at it at the very end, but I really want to know what you're thinking about WebAssembly and being able to make all this run in WebAssembly in the browser.
Yeah, I didn't have time to expand that point. Yeah, the reason that I want Lightdown is really, really lightweight. It's about maybe 100 or 200 kilobytes. It's really tiny so that you can I'm not sure if everyone knows, R has been compiled to WebAssembly, so you can basically use R in your web browser without installing R locally. So if we can use R in WebAssembly, then it should be simple enough to use Lightdown in your web browser. I think this is pretty interesting because otherwise, previously, you have to. We had to rely on pandoc. Now you don't have to. I have re-implemented many features of pandoc, but apparently not fully re-implementing pandoc. That's mission impossible in 2 months.
Another question in the middle.
Hi, thank you for the talk. So one of the things that you commented on that seemed to say that Markdown was too big was adding LaTeX functionality to it. I guess one of the things I love the most about R Markdown is the ability to write LaTeX in small math snippets in line. Is that one of the things that you're trying to keep in Lightdown?
Lightdown will support LaTeX math for sure.
And how do you? I mean, do you have some principles in what things that you're not choosing to include in Lightdown in general?
That's a tricky question. probably an easy answer is that if a certain feature like requires me to work on for like several weeks, then I probably won't do. Unless you are going to pay me $1 million, then I would consider. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Markdown also supports the LaTeX format, but the support is definitely not as good as HTML. Yeah.
There was another question in the front. Yeah.
Thanks for the talk. So you're talking about this from a developer perspective, but I'm curious about why users will want to choose to use this new package.
My answer is that if I give you the Markdown menu and you read it, and you can forget me. You don't have to follow me again. All the features are there. You don't have to follow me on Twitter. You don't to keep an eye on my social media. I don't have anything to announce in the future. It's done. If it works for you, it works forever. If it doesn't work, then use Quarto or Markdown. Yeah.
So you just don't need to keep track of all the updates.
Exactly. Like attention is too expensive.
Thank you.
Okay, there are no more questions, so I would like to thank the speaker again.